In 1998, 99 is when I met my second husband. Okay. And
well, if you don't mind going into it a little bit, how did the first one end, and you move on from that situation?
Oh God, he's gonna kill me, but I'm gonna tell y'all anyway. Not that I care, but anyway, so he was on drugs.
Okay.
Unbeknownst to me initially, and so some things that started coming to me from people from the outside, and I'm not really gonna get into it on this platform, but so one day he came home and I said, is this stuff true? I said, I need to know. He said yes. And I told him to get out because I didn't want to die. What you out in the streets doing? I need to live for my kids. And he said to me that day, he said, if I can't have you, nobody can. And he put a gun on my mantle.
I went from condos to Pop's house, on calls now bus route.
What's up? It's your boy Paul P. I serve God. I'm not God. This is just my opinion. And welcome to another episode of the Nothing to Some podcast. So today we have a special guest here. I'm talking about an author. Have an amazing book that she want to talk about. And man, she got a story to tell, a special story to tell. We have the one and only SABRINa CRUMPTON in the building.
Hey.
How you doing, SABRINa?
Oh my God, I am doing absolutely amazing. Absolutely.
Great. That's amazing. So SABRINa, on the Nothing to Some podcast, we want to get your story.
Yes.
We want to know everything.
Yes.
And not just the now, we want to know the beginning.
Ooh.
So we like to go back. Are you okay with that? You okay with that?
Way back.
All right, SABRINa. So before we get into the book, let's start from the beginning.
Yes. Well, first and foremost,
okay.
I'm with you.
Okay.
To God be the glory. Thanks for allowing me the opportunity to be on your show to tell my story.
Yes.
So my story, it began in okay, I'm not going to tell you all that, but I'm just saying. So, well, let me just get to why I actually wrote the book, and then if we need to delve a little bit back, further back, that's fine as well.
Yes. So
the reason why I wrote the book is because in 2019, and I've told this story before, but not to you, so it's my first for you.
Okay.
So in 2019, I found myself in the throes of a messy marriage. So much so that my then husband, came to me at the end of October and said he was leaving at the end of the month. Mind you, we had just gotten married in 2018. So he said he was going to leave at the end of the month. Well, let me just back up a little bit. So I have a daughter who is kind of like my road dog, my friend. And one day her and I was talking, and because my husband and I was just going through so much at the time, my ex-husband and I was going through so much at the time, I said to my daughter, I said, you know what? He's leaving. He's going to leave. She said, Ma, no, he's not. I said, yes, he is. So a couple of days after that, I was sitting in my family room. Actually, it was our garage. We converted into a family room because we had a dog, and the dog would run out in the yard, and that provided us the opportunity to watch him. Yeah. And he walks in, and he says, I'm leaving at the end of the month. I wasn't shocked because instinct told me that days ago. And so when he said that, initially I didn't say anything. So he walked past me, and then he came back, and he said, I'm leaving because you're not happy. I said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to deflect. Why are you really leaving? Don't tell me about me. Tell me about you.
Well, SABRINa, before you get there, I already know it's about to get really good. It's about to get really good, right? Before we get there, though, I want to go back a little further because I want people to have the whole setup. So let's start further back than that, and we're going to get there. That's a really good setup right there.
Yep.
So before we get there, let the people know, where were you born at, SABRINa?
I was born in, once upon a time, I was born in Pleasantville, New Jersey, in a house on a couch.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. I'm the youngest of 9, and we lived in, at the time, a rural part of New Jersey. And because the ambulance couldn't find where we lived, they couldn't find a house, my mother gave birth on the couch, and my older siblings delivered me. And they have a field day with teasing me about it. They told me I was placed in a bucket when I was born. I was placed in a drawer when I was born. And so that is the biggest joke sometimes. So I was born in a house in Pleasantville, New Jersey. And then my mother and my father had such a tumultuous relationship that my mother just took us and left. So she left New Jersey, and then we ended up in Queens, New York. So from Queens, we stayed there, but we moved a lot. Okay. My mother was, she only had one sibling, so it was just two of them. But my mother had 9 children. And it was, being the youngest one, it wasn't hard living. But, growing up with a mother who was probably a few generations from slavery, that mentality was a little bit rough. Very domineering, very authoritative. And so it was more like, do what I say, not what I do. And then you have the fact that there's an absent father, right? So all of those combinations kind of molds you. And so as a result, what I don't tell often, but it's a great story, is I was actually married. I had 3 husbands. The third husband was the one that made me do the work, because it was easy for me to get a guy. That wasn't the hard part. But it was the harder part was to keep him. So when my third husband left after 30 days, actually he left before 30 days. On the 20th day, moving men started coming in and taking the stuff out. And so when he was leaving, I said, we have responsibilities together. We have this house, you're just going to leave? His response was, you're yelling at me. You're yelling at me. And I said, oh, my goodness. Wow. And he walked out. And it was funny because at that period of time, and I have pictures, I had ballooned up to like 190 pounds. I had never been that heavy in my entire life, not even when I was pregnant with my children. And so I didn't even recognize who I was anymore. I had literally lost myself. But again, absent father, authoritarian mother. Mommy obviously had to work to feed us, so now she's gone. So, I tell people all the time, trauma is a seed that grows in your stomach, and each stage of your life waters it, and it grows into a full-blown tree. And it's not until you recognize it and start working on it can you start to heal it. So when he left, and I was stuck with these bills, I literally went into like a depression, which was something I never do, because I always was able to, bounce back and just say whatever and keep going. So went into a depression. Bills started piling up. And I guess the depression had me I was only paying the mortgage at the time, even though there were other bills. So they started getting out of control. So I went to a financial advisor, and for his advice, he said, sell your house and file bankruptcy. And after I left his office, I went and I sat in my car, and I started crying. I mean, bawling. And I said, God, I made these bills, and I want to pay them. I do not want to file bankruptcy. So now we're rolling into Christmas, and I literally had no money for Christmas. I couldn't buy a Christmas tree, and I had 4 kids in total. 2 younger ones were still at home, plus my oldest daughter was there with her 2 children because her husband is in the military. He was in California. She didn't want to go there by herself because she wouldn't have had any support. So now I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? A couple more weeks go by, and getting closer to Christmas, still nothing. But I remember I had a lot of stuff. We had a huge house. It was almost 5,000 square feet on 2 acres of land.
Wow.
And I had a lot of stuff. I had jewelry, shoes, clothes. I had it all. And I remembered he had bought me an engagement ring. In fact, he had probably just upgraded it for my birthday the year before. And I took the engagement ring to a shop. And the guy looked at me like, "You want to sell this?" I said, "Yep." And he gave me a nice sum for it. And I was able to have an amazing Christmas. Bought a Christmas tree, bought the kids gift. It was like nothing, it was seamless to them. I didn't keep them in what was going on. But then January rolled around and reality struck again. And I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? But to God be the glory. And the money just started flowing. And things just started aligning. But it was in that moment that I had to heal. Because it was easy to talk about the husbands. That's the easy part. They did this, they did that. The harder part was to talk about me. And what I was the common denominating factor. And it was hard. And so with that, I started my healing journey.
And SABRIna, I think it's very important when it comes down to the things that you were saying, because a lot of people don't like to be honest about the work that they need to put in order to grow. One thing that I want to ask, because it's not the focus when it comes down to a lot of individuals, but I think it should be. Right. In your teenage years, would you say that you dealt with anything that had to do with childhood traumas or things that you went through that you don't mind speaking on a little bit, and just letting us into that world of a younger SABRIna in her teenage years? If you don't mind going into that a little bit.
Yeah, so my teenage years was me pretty much raising myself, right? Yeah. My mother was working, sometimes 2 jobs, to make sure we had a roof over our head and food. And we always had the most beautiful house. My house was, despite how many kids and grandkids she had, my house was always immaculate. My mother, I used to say she was OCD, but it is what it is. We always had a clean house. But me as a teenager, because I didn't have any guidance, any role models, anyone to look up to, and of course, when you have a mother that's from an era where everything's supposed to be a secret and hush-hush and, don't want to talk about anything, you kind of look for other people for validation. You look for love in all the wrong places. And so now you're dating. And of course, you don't know how to put up healthy boundaries. So now the guys are not treating you the way they're supposed to be treating you. And again, because you don't know what love really is, you kind of accept what you get. So teenage years for me was a combination of dating I wouldn't say, well, I had my oldest son as a teenage mom.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking, around what age were you at that time?
He was my sweet 16th birthday present.
Okay. Same age my mom had me.
Yeah. He was my sweet. Most people get cakes and quince. How you say it? I got a son. Right. I got a son. But the greatest gift he was, because he is the one that made me become grounded in me. Some people may think that they're here to save their kids, or my son actually was the one that saved me. He was the absolute love of my life. Wow. When he was young and now, he's a great human being, and I'm so proud to call him mine. Amazing. And so, and then when I got married the first time, I was very young. I was probably 20, 21, something like that, and where you are in your life, the energy you are is what you're going to attract. He was a very toxic relationship. Oh, and that's a story in itself that I'm not even going to talk today, but it's juicy.
Yeah. And a lot of young girls, I believe, need to hear this, right?
Yes.
Men and women in general, right? But what are some of the things that you faced in high school, being a teenage mother? Like, how hard was that, for you to get through that time as a 16-year-old teenage mother?
Yeah. It was hard only because of, like, child care. You had to make sure your son had good child care. I remember having a babysitter watch my son, and I got a call that he had, I don't know, fell through the banister. So we had to rush him to the hospital. He was fine. And then a couple of months later, I get a call that he had drank some bleach because she was going to the laundry. You know how we take the bleach and put it in a soda bottle because you don't want to take the big one? He drinks the bleach because he thinks it's soda.
Wow.
So when they called me the second time, they said, if your son comes in here one more time, we don't care if you're watching him or not, we're going to take him. And of course, that wasn't happening. So I had to really concentrate and focus. I had to find another babysitter to care for him. And, it's rough, right? Because now you're a single mother, you're a teenager, you don't really know how to be a mother. But you have this young son. Certainly, you don't know how to teach a boy to be a man.
Yeah.
Well, you got a baby, you got to take care of him the best you know how.
Yeah.
And so then it was, now he has a stepfather. Who's this man? And out of my first marriage, my daughter came. Another amazing human being, very intelligent.
And how old were you around this time?
21.
Okay.
I was about 21 at this time when I got married to my first husband. And it was around the crack era. And so, of course, it wasn't a good time for him. And, of course, I was from Queens, kind of corny. I didn't know anything about crack. But I soon discovered, not that I did it, trust me. And then I lived right in the smack of Harlem. And baby, when you live in Harlem, you're going to learn some things. You're going to learn how to be a little rough. You're going to have to be. But I lived in a good neighborhood, and the locals would always watch out for me.
Okay.
And so after that marriage was dissolved, life, I always look at life as good, though, for some reason, no matter what.
Yeah.
And I bought my first house.
Wow.
Yep. I worked and bought my first house.
Yeah.
I lived upstate New York, bought my first house. My plan was to always go to Georgia because I have a lot of family in Georgia. So when the market started to boom, I sold the house that I was in and got my first biggest check ever. But for some reason, I've always had this business mindset, this entrepreneur mindset, always. When I was a young girl, I remember sitting all my brothers and sisters down, and I was like, listen, we got to open a bank account. We got to put all our money in it so we can do things. We could open a business. But my sisters and brothers were looking at me like, girl, if you don't go somewhere. But anyway, so I bought my first house.
Yeah.
And in 1998, 99 is when I met my second husband.
Okay.
And
Well, if you don't mind going into it a little bit, how did the first one end and you move on from that situation?
oh God, he's gonna kill me, but I'm gonna tell y'all anyway. Not that I care. But anyway, so he was on drugs.
Okay.
Unbeknownst to me initially. And so some things that started coming to me from people from the outside, and I'm not really gonna get into it on this platform, but so one day he came home and I said, is this stuff true? I said, I need to know. He said, yes. And I told him to get out because I didn't want to die. What you out in the streets doing? I need to live for my kids. And he said to me that day, he said, if I can't have you, nobody can. And he put a gun on my mantle. I was like, if you don't get out this house. And he left. He did leave. We tried to work it out after that, but, the damage was already done. There was nothing left. There was nothing there.
Yeah.
And so I moved on, vowed I would just, stay single until I could figure it out. Met my second husband years later. And, hindsight being 2020, my second husband, he and I lasted like 15 years.
Okay.
He's a good person. We weren't good together. He took care of the house. Financially, didn't care how much money I made. He made. He really put the financial umbrella over the household. We didn't have any biological children, but we adopted 2 children. But again, another tumultuous relationship, because we would have like a love-hate relationship. When it was good, it was good. When it was bad, it was bad. And so I left and got a promotion and moved to Georgia. And he was supposed to come to Georgia too, because I felt like a lot of our problems was his mother. Looking, you know what I'm saying? We put things on everybody else, but where it should be on. So
Would you say like he was a mama's boy?
Oh, he was a mama's boy.
Okay.
Oh, my God. He was a mama's boy. He was a mama's boy. Yeah. I mean, it was, yeah. So anyway, so I moved to Georgia. He's with the 2 younger kids. He was like, okay, I'm coming to, because our job allowed us to transfer. It wasn't that difficult if you really wanted to transfer. So I got a promotion, moved to Georgia, and it was amazing because they paid me to go. They shipped my cars down. Like, it was amazing. And I was still young. I've always been blessed to have great jobs. And so after a few months, I realized he wasn't coming. And we actually got divorced. And then we turned around 2 months later and got remarried.
Wow.
So, when we did that, I said, you know what? I got to come back because there's no way our relationship will survive if I'm in Georgia and he's in New Jersey. So I came back. I actually took a job like an hour and a half away from the house. And initially, through networking, I was able to get closer to the house. So my job was now like 5 minutes from the house, literally. So I'm in this facility and I'm supervising. And one of my employees come up to me and says to me, Sabrina, do you know a girl named so-and-so? And I'm like, no. I said, why you? She literally parked behind my car and wouldn't let me leave. I said, what is the matter? I said, are you okay? Is everything all right at work? She was like, I need to talk to you. I said, about what? Did you have an accident? What's the matter? She said, no, Sabrina, I need to talk to you. I said, well, okay. So she said, do you know so-and-so? I said, no. She said, you sure? She said, your husband doesn't know so-and-so? I was like, yeah, that's somebody he dated when he was like 19. She was like, well, she lives in the area where I work at. Because, we used to send the folks out to do different jobs. Yeah. She said, she lives in the area I work at. And she's the only reason why I'm telling you is she talks about him every day. I said, excuse me? She said, did you and your husband just buy another house? Yeah. Well, she asked me, why would y'all buy another house when you have one already? I said, so now I'm getting really mad, right? And then she says to me, did you just go furniture shopping this weekend? Yeah. She told me that too. She said, let me ask you one other question. Did you and your husband go to Vegas and were you two arguing? I said, the whole trip. She said, well, she told me that too. Wow. Now I'm livid. And I was more mad because I uprooted my kids to come back here to make this doggone thing work again, to go through this. Yeah. She said, but Sabrina, you can't say anything. I said, why? She said, because I won't get any more information from the girl. She'll know. I said, no problem. So now I go home. And I'm in my kitchen of the new house. And I'm sitting there and I called one of my girlfriends and I said, listen, you got to talk to me because if you don't, I'm going to go off. So I'm telling her what happened and she's like, I'm so sorry. I said, don't be sorry, And we talked so long, the phone died. I said, oh, Lord, now I got to go face him. As I'm going to face him, because we had 2 levels, and I'm on the first one, he's upstairs. And I know because his lunchbox is on the kitchen island. So I go past the island, and there's a piece of paper sticking up. And I said, that's strange. Did you just call my name? Paper? So I pick up the paper and I look at it, and it's a receipt for flowers and a note to the ex, not me. I said, the person who was telling me the story didn't tell me not to say anything about the flowers. So up the stairs I went. And I took the paper and I gave it to him. And the first thing I said, and I said, God forgive me, I did curse. I said, are you effing her? He said, what are you talking about? I said, this. Why is somebody else getting flowers from you? He said, it was her birthday and she has nobody else to get her anything. I said, oh, you the pity committee? He said, she's my friend. I said, well, if she's your friend, how come I don't know her? How come I don't know about this friendship? So now I've got to get around to other issues because I want to know about that too. So I said, well, let me ask you something. When's the last time you spoke to her? Do you all speak often? He was silent as a church mouse. Wouldn't say anything. And I said, you said enough without saying anything. I said, I sacrificed and came back here for this. You could have left me where I was at. But you came down there confessing your undying love. And I came home. Don't worry about it. I said, we got two houses. You got two choices. You can stay here and I'll go to the other house, or you can go to the other house and I'll stay here. It doesn't matter. Either way. And the crazy part is we were going to counseling. So, of course, that marriage dissolved. Then, of course, I'm not doing it again.
So would you say that was the situation that ended it? Like, it wasn't no turning back from that right there?
Yeah, that was it. I was done.
Okay. So now moving along, how did things work out, for you and, your kids and everything after getting out of that situation?
So my kids, to be honest with you, I didn't really do a lot of, what I should have did was counseling for the kids, but I didn't. But I always made my kids feel loved, welcomed, and warm, no matter what the situation was. And I would always, as they got older, talk them through it. Like, we would always talk about things, because I never want them to think that I'm keeping secrets or something is bad. Life is gonna life. Let's talk to me. Is this affecting you? Is it bothering you? Mom, we okay. We know, So, but I didn't get them counseling.
Yeah. Okay.
And again, remember, my last two kids were adopted kids. So he and I adopted them together. My two older kids, they were gone, grown and gone.
Okay.
And so he moved into the other house and I stayed in that house. And here again, I said, you know what? Take my break. Just kind of let it, things settle. Here comes husband number 3.
Yeah. So now as we get into the story moving along and moving forward, the story you was mentioning and touching on in the beginning, which I would say did it lead this. That's what led to the book and everything too, right?
Yes.
The last situation. Okay. So now, if you could probably start from the beginning of that story and just go into it and just let us know what happened from that situation.
Absolutely. So I meet husband number 3. And it was funny because at first I was kind of pushing him away. He would always ask me out. I'd be like, no, I'm not going. And so one day I was coming out of the mall and he's coming out of a store in the mall and we bump into each other. And I said, oh, shoot. So he said, you got to eat, I got to eat. Let's just have something to eat. Again, not knowing what healing looks like, not knowing how trauma affects you, not knowing how to do the work. You look for love, validation in all the wrong places. So, but you can tell something was wrong because I kept pushing him away. And so we went to dinner that day. It wasn't a lengthy dinner. And we kind of kept in touch with each other. And then I got a promotion and moved to Maryland. I got a promotion. And then he got a promotion and moved to Maryland. And then it just took off from there. And then, so we dated for about 2 years. And then in 2018, he wanted to get married. Notice I said he. And I was like, okay, well, you know, it's going to take some time. This was around Christmas. I was like, it's going to take some time. He said, let's get married Christmas or New Year's. I said, well, it's going to take time. We got to get a marriage certificate. He pulled out a marriage certificate. I said, well, where you get a marriage certificate from? He said, all I needed was your social. I was able to get it. I said, well, we still need somebody to marry us. So, you know, he said, I found somebody. Let's do it on Christmas. I was like, no, Christmas is too soon. He said, all right, well, let's do it on, I've always had a passion to get married on New Year's.
Okay.
So he said, let's get married on New Year's. Nope. Anyway, we wound up getting married on Martin Luther King's birthday in the house with the Justice of the Peace. Wow. And the first couple of months was okay. But then slowly but surely, you know, I could just tell something is wrong. I started kind of like pulling back because it just didn't feel right. And I did a lot of traveling for my job. I probably visit 35 of the 50 states for my job. So I was gone pretty often. And one day I got a call. It was funny. My daughter's so funny. She was like, Ma, she was a snitch. She said, it's 12 o'clock. Your husband ain't home. I was like, okay, you know, I don't want to get her to get into it or her to think anything wrong. I said, okay. So one day I came home early. And sure enough, he comes in 12 o'clock. Now, his job didn't require him to come home that late. Yeah. So I said to him, I said, why are you coming home so late? And he is drunk. Drunk. So I said to him, I said, and you're drunk? Because I don't drink. Then not that that's neither here nor there. But for him to be drunk on a work night was just strange. So he started mumbling, well, one of my employees has cancer and he was talking about committing suicide. So I wanted to talk him out of it. I said, let me get this straight. And he said the guy has stage 4 cancer. I said, let me get this straight. He got stage 4 cancer, but he want to commit suicide? I said, and you talked him off the ledge? You? Okay. So I said to him, let me see your phone. Now, he used to always give me his phone because he had games on there that wasn't on my phone because he had a different brand phone. His phone was locked. Never was his phone locked. So I said to him, your phone is locked? He starts mumbling, I told my son that I could trust you. I said, what the heck are you talking about? So I said, give me the code. His drunk self gives it to me. So I look at the phone and there's a text message. And the text message is saying, and I don't remember who said what, but it was, when we go away together, are we sleeping in the same bed or separate beds? And one of them said, we are grown adults. We sleeping in the same bed. I said, here we go again. So I took the phone and threw it. Right now, I'm mad at myself because I can't get any more information. So I go get the phone, right? And I tell him, give me the code again. He drunk. He gives it to me again. But I said, this time I need more time with the phone because something is not right. I need a little more time. So I take the phone and I start running. I walk out the house and he's following me. And I'm like, you better go back in the house. I'm going to call the cops. So he goes back in the house. And now I'm saying, okay, Sabrina, use your brain. What's going on? So I go to the sent messages and the deleted. I should have stopped at the text messages. The pictures that I saw were so pornographic. I couldn't believe it. it was of a woman just doing the ungodliest things to herself. And I'm thinking, well, who took these pictures? So I go back in the house and I said to him, this is what we doing? And again, remember, for some reason, months earlier, I was withdrawn from him because I felt like something was wrong. So the intimacy was like way off. And I said, what are we doing? Who's this? Oh, my boss sent that to me. So your boss are going to send you these provocative pictures. Why? Oh, he was just showing me. I said, yeah, okay. I said, I need you to do me a favor. He said, well, I need you to get out. I said, because this is a level of disrespect that I'm not going to tolerate. So he got into bed and said, I'll leave when I want to leave. I said, oh, yeah? The one thing I knew he loved was his suits. So I took his suits, put them in the tub. I said, you don't get out. I'm wetting these suits. So he gets up and he takes the suits and the dogs and he leaves. So in the interim, I called a divorce attorney. Remember, no knowledge of a successful relationship, not knowing what love really is, father not there. I didn't grow up around a whole lot of men. I have brothers, but they were all grown and gone. Yeah. So I called this female attorney, and I was telling her what happened. And I was asking her, about the divorce. She tells me, you mean to tell me you're going to divorce your husband for some pictures? I started feeling like, well, maybe I was just overreacting. She was like, maybe he just like pictures. She said, as bad as that sounds, she said, I don't think that's cause for divorce. I was like, maybe I'm overreacting. So a few days go by and I call him and I said, where are you? And he told me where he was, and I went there and we talked. We decided we could go to counseling. He comes home, but it didn't get better. Because I feel like his mind was already gone. And so why in God's green earth he asked me to marry him before that was beyond me. And he really just kept like pushing it. Let's get married. Let's get married. I'm like, but anyway, so that was 2018. We got married in 2018. That was going on in 2018, 2019. It just wasn't getting better. He just started getting really insecure. And I mean, at this point, I was looking like a hot mess.
So basically, y'all stayed together. It didn't end at that point.
It didn't end at that point. Right.
Okay.
Because, again, we were going to counseling.
Yeah.
But it just got worse. And that's when led up to him saying he's leaving because he's not happy. And so when he left and I went through the, my trials, tribulations, and depression, I said, it's time for my healing work.
Yeah. Well, would you say that was like the point where you hit rock bottom?
Yes.
Like in your every situation you was in, this was like the ultimate rock bottom for you.
I don't think it was the ultimate rock bottom, to be honest with you, because there's still, periods missing that I had even worse rock bottoms. Yeah. I just felt like at this point in my life, enough was enough. I knew there was something greater. I just didn't know how to get to it. I would always see visions of grandeur in me in other places and other spaces, but I didn't believe that I could be in those places and other spaces. Because everything told me I couldn't. I told me I couldn't. So it wasn't until I started doing the work that I started getting to those places and those spaces. And it was not easy. There was a lot of tears. There was some joy. There was a lot of reflecting, going back, and there was a lot of letter writing, apologies to myself. There was a lot of forgiveness for so many people in my life.
Wow.
And somehow through it all, I was still grateful. I was still grateful, and grateful because they didn't really break me. And I don't know if that was anybody's plan, but they didn't break me. They made me like the $6 million man, stronger, faster. I almost want to give all of them, everybody in my path, a gift, because everything I went to led me to here, to where I am today. And what I want to do is scream from the rooftops and tell people, it's so beautiful on the other side if you do the work. It's good to have faith, but God said faith without works, it doesn't work. You have to do some work.
So would you say the transformational moment for you after that situation was getting healing and everything like that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Did you also turn? I hear you mentioning God a lot, which is amazing. I'm a Christian man myself, right? So, did you also turn to God and get closer and connected to your faith at this time as well?
Good question. I've always loved God. It's funny because I remember being a little girl, and we had a church right next door to our house. I must have been about 7 years old, and they were having some kind of service or something that night. And I asked my mom, can I go with her? Because my mother, she believed in God, but she never, went to church. But they were going there that night for a service. And I said to my mother, can I go, Mommy? She was like, yeah, no. So my mother, my sister, and my cousin went. And little Sabrina came right down the stairs and went right into that church. My mother was like, I've loved the Lord my entire life. Everywhere I've gone, everywhere I've lived, I've always made it my business to connect with a church, because I always knew spiritually that's where I wanted to be. Not that I needed to be there, that's where I wanted to be. But when I started doing my healing work, it kind of enhanced that. Like, my love for God is just so unreal, because I know his work is in everything. Even when I was married, and I would go to work, people would say, Sabrina, you have the glow of God around you. And I didn't understand what that meant until I started doing the healing work. Yeah. So after I started doing the healing work, and it was a lot, and it cost a lot, but you know what? It was worth the investment, right? Because we go out and we spend money on bags, designer bags. We go out and spend money on hair. We go out and spend money on clothes. We invest in stuff that will mean nothing in the end. But when you invest in your healing, not only are you investing in yourself, but you are investing in the people around you. And that, at the end of the day, is what matters to me.
So, another thing I want to ask you too is, because I could tell you have a very, very strong relationship with God, which is amazing. When you was going through some of the things that you were going through at your lowest points, did you ever question God or feel like, why am I going through these things? Did your faith ever wander, or did you stay strongly connected to your faith during these times?
You asking some good old questions.
Thank you.
Funny thing is, I say some people are convenient Christians, right? And I might have been one of them. Okay, I was one of them. So when you're going through things, or when I went through things, you're right. I question them like, why me, God? God would say, why not? And then I think, what if I went through that just to get to this moment? I needed to go through it to come out on the other side. So yeah, I was a convenient Christian. I'm not now. And it's funny because when we think of the state of the world today, right? Yeah. This is when we become convenient. When faith becomes, you doubt it. But you shouldn't, because however it's going to go, it's going to go. But again, that doesn't mean you sit around and do nothing. That means you have to put in some work. I don't care if that means healing. I don't care if that means volunteering at a shelter. I don't care if that means picking up a book and learning more about economics. I don't care if that means learn farming. You have to do something. It is not meant for you to do nothing. You got to do some work.
Amazing, amazing. I don't think you could have said it any better, you know. So Sabrina, as we get into now your book,
Yes.
rediscovering
Oof.
your work, and like I told you earlier, I love the decorations of the book and everything. It's
you.
beautiful. Great job, great job.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. So what led you to start writing this book?
Yep. So I have to be honest with you. If you look at my laptop or if you look at my phone, I've written so many books. I just never published them. But before I got to this one, I have a granddaughter, my first granddaughter. Hi, Callie Rain. When she was young, she had trouble going to the potty. She was definitely afraid. She was be like, Emma, there's something in the toilet, I can't go. And so I wanted to do something creative to inspire her to go to the potty. And the one thing I am is creative. And so I wrote a book for her. I can potty training with Princess Callie Rain. I can potty train with Princess Callie Rain. The illustrations and the words in that book was so amazing. I read it to her. I'm sure her mother read it to her 50 times. After she read the book, she went to the potty. When the book was for sale, I would get such amazing feedback. Oh my God, these illustrations are beautiful. I have to read it to my granddaughter or my daughter so many times. So that book was the catalyst for me to start being an author and putting books out. I wrote a second one for my grandson called Mirror Mash. It was about the pandemic and them staying in the house playing video games and what that did to them. And then lastly, in 2020, at the beginning of 2024, I started writing this book. Okay. Because again, so even with my healing, right, I also, one of the healings that I did when we completed the program, the person was so impressed with the group of us that she wanted us to become coaches. And so she took us through this rigorous coaching program. We got certified and became coaches. And I had clients. I still have the clients still call me. I'm no longer with that group because I have a full-time job. And I just really needed to focus on my job because I was so close to retirement. I just kind of wanted to focus, and it was pulling me too much. But the clients that I had from that time still call me. In fact, one of the young ladies texted me earlier this week and said, I'll be in your area on Friday. Can we go to dinner? One of the girls said to me, the reviews was just amazing. Sabrina has tapped into something nobody else has tapped into. Because I've been there. I've done it. I know what it's like. I know the questions that need to be asked. Because I want to help you. Truly. Nothing else matters. Nothing.
Wow. What you say writing this book right here was one of the purposes that God led you to when it come down to writing this book?
You know, and forgive me because I'm not really, I should know this verse by heart. So one day, I had the book for a while before I actually published it, right? I sat on it and I hired an executive coach because I wanted to go to the next level. I see me in a whole nother level, a whole nother realm. And I'm going to tell you how powerful healing is in a minute. But anyway, so I'm with this executive coach, and we would meet every week, and I told her about the book, and she was like, okay, we're gonna set some goals up. What could you do realistically right now to get your book published? I said, well, I would definitely need an editor to help me with the grammatical errors and sentence structures. She said, okay, so we're going to put that down. How much time do you think you need to do? She was like my accountability person. How much time do you think you need to do it? I said, I could do it this week. She looked at me. I said, I can do it this week. Sent it over. She said, okay. And then she said, and what about once you get the editor, what do you need? I said, nothing really, just to publish it on Amazon. okay, and when do you think you can get that done by? And I said, I can do that the following week, once I get the book back. She said, okay, kind of skeptical. In January, the editor, prior to January, the editor finished it. I had it published on Amazon in January. My executive coach was like, oh my God. She said, I cannot believe you did this, all of this. I said, I told you I would. And it's just been amazing because this book was from me, about me, but not for me. But I'm going to get back to your God question. So, but prior to me getting the executive coach, right, I'm laying in the bed. I'm sorry, it was when I had the executive coach. I'm laying in the bed, and I said, God, I don't know if I'm ready for this. God said, you're going to be speaking. I said, God, this is what's coming to me. I said, God, speak. I said, I'm going to be speaking. I said, I don't know what to say. Jeremiah 29:1. Again, I don't know it verbatim, and I promise you I'm going to learn it from this day forward. I will be your mouthpiece. I will speak to you. Your word, it was just like he's gonna tell me what to say.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh my God, okay, God, if this is your plan, I will. Your will be done, not mine." Do you know? A couple of weeks after that, somebody called me and asked me to do a virtual seminar about my book.
Wow.
That seminar, and at first, like when I first got on, I was a little bit nervous, but I said, "You know what, Sabrina? Stop." First of all, I've done speaking engagements before because at work I used to have to talk in front of hundreds of people. So I wasn't nervous with public speaking, but I was nervous getting out there, if that makes sense. And during this presentation, this virtual presentation, at the end of it, was so profound. I told the ladies to come off the mic, and I said, okay, I need you guys to say it with me. And everybody got off the mic, and you could, in unison, I am this, I am beautiful, I am strong. And I was like, I started crying like, this is nothing but God. It was so profound and so amazing.
Wow. Powerful. Yeah. That's amazing. The things that, God could do when you sit down and start to listen, get healing, and really following into that direction. That led to you changing your life, writing this book, and discovering your truth, which is, it's not a small thing. So I just want to let you know that I definitely, look up to you as an individual who has, written a book and is out here not holding back, telling your story to so many others, and one thing I would want to ask you, because it's so many young ladies out here who are going through some of the things that you went through, and are having issues with getting through those things. What is a message that you would put out there and tell those ladies who do not see the light at the end of the tunnel, like you had to discover yourself?
Right. Well, I'm going to put a picture in there, right? Because I'm going to say, so it's easy to say rediscover your worth. It's easy to say fall in love with yourself, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know how to do that because they don't know what love is. What is love? What is love, right? So if I had to give them any advice, I would say first, get the book, because this doesn't take away from going to a therapist, psychiatrist, or whatever it is you need to do for your healing, but it is at least a start. Because there's some call to actions. There's some things in the book that you actually have to do to begin your healing journey. I would just say, take a step towards your healing. Get a therapist. Talk to somebody. Do something different. If you're in a relationship that's not serving you, like, you could do all the work you want in the world. You can read self-help books. You can talk to a guru. You can go away to an island and meditate. But if you have some people in your life that is still bringing you down mentally, physically, financially, it's almost like it doesn't make, it's not going to make sense because you're pulling forward, but they have you like a rubber band pulling you back. When you truly start to do the work, and it's hard, right? Because you got to start not caring a little bit about the people around you. You got to zone the people out. When you do that, the people who are not right for you will start to drop off. And it's going to almost feel like a peace. It's going to be peaceful. And you just keep going forward. There are some nice healing places. Ayahuasca is amazing. The plant medicine is amazing. Yeah. And there's so many experts in the world that could help you through healing. I would say assess what you're doing right now. Look at where your life is today. If you see that you're dating the same guy with a different face, you know, the next guy is acting like the first guy, something's wrong. If you have a problem with healthy boundaries, that means there's something you're doing or something somebody's doing to you and you don't like, but you're people pleasing because you don't want to lose those people, something's wrong. If you're in a relationship that's abusive, I don't care whether you're a guy or a girl, it's wrong. That's not what God put us on this earth for. We're all here for a purpose. Once you start your healing, true healing, your purpose is going to start showing itself. And it's funny because last year, a girlfriend of mine, we talked about having a podcast. We was like, yeah, you know, girl, we should have a podcast. Why on March 3rd we starting a podcast? I tell everybody this story. I always used to see myself on stage with a microphone in my ear talking to what looked like hundreds of thousands of women. And on this stage, I saw me with a red dress and a bow, but I couldn't see below the, you know, the top half because there was a wall up. That wall is significant. I couldn't see myself. I couldn't see what, you know, the full view of me, just the top half. So one day I said to the future me, I said, how do I get to you? What do I need to do to get to you? So now I have this executive coach. I'm writing my book. So one day I go into the store and I see this silk blouse with a bow, and I didn't pay it any mind. I go home and I put it on. Oh my God. I was like, that's strange. Just, you know, felt familiar. The wall that I saw started coming down. The dress wasn't a red dress. It's a red blouse with a bow and cream-colored slacks. I go to the store and I get these cream-colored slacks. Now I'm lying. I ordered it offline, and they came. I put the cream-colored slacks on with the top with the bow, and I'm talking, and there's a mic on my desk with my computer, and it's like I saw the future me in that moment. And I said to myself, oh my God, this is real. This is real.
Wow. Powerful. I mean, I don't see how anybody can listen to your story and not get motivated. You know, you've been through a lot of things and got through them, you know, by getting healing and also turning to God. And I could just tell you're at a place right now where you got a light shining around you. And I'm thankful to be able to see that and be here with you today to sit down with you and hear your story. So I appreciate you a lot. And I know many others who look at this interview is going to appreciate you as well.
Yes, it's my hope.
Yeah. So before we close up, can you let everyone know where they can find your book?
Yes.
And any last words or shout outs as well?
Rediscovering Your Worth is on Amazon.com now. Rediscovering Your Worth. And if I can part with any words, I would say somebody is depending on you. Do the work, because you will undoubtedly help or save somebody else. Your story is your story for a reason, and it's meant for you to tell it. Thank you.
Amazing story again. I appreciate you so much, SABRIna, for coming and sitting down with us and being open enough to tell your story. So thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining in on the interview. It's your boy Paul P. SABRIna CRUMPTON. Do not forget to get her book.
Yes.
Rediscovering Your Worth. Your boy Paul P. Love you all. I'm out of here. Deuces.
I had to show 'em that